Hello. Hello, hello. We got some spicy noodles here today, along with a discussion about King Crimson. But I want to warn you guys, I am not typically your spice person. Don't get me wrong. I do enjoy myself some heat. But I'm not a challenge spice person. So I don't go to I don't go to Buffalo Wild Wings and order the atomic whatever. But I can handle myself some spice, and I've had these before. And I've suffered. I have a second bowl of them ready to be made in case I run out. Yeah, so I'm going to delay eating this as much as... Nah, I'm kidding. I'm gonna take my first bite in a moment. There's some things I want to clear up first. So, as you know, we are doing an event in January, and this event is going to be bigger than any other event we've had. I want as many people there as possible, and I am actually straight up trying to get a computer that I can give away on stream. Now, no promises that's going to happen, but that's a whole thing on its own. Next up, I do have some stuff coming up next week and the week after, obviously for the holidays. So if I do shorter streams, like only hour-long streams, just understand that my holiday is kind of crazy, right? I have guests coming into town. Leo's going to be there. And... yes. And I promise that we're still going to have a good time no matter what I do on those weeks. The whole thing with Trua is still happening this weekend. I'm sorry that got delayed. Something happened with her dog, so that's a whole can of worms in and of itself. And let's see, is there anything else I need to go over? I will be streaming Marvel Rivals on Friday. Anyone's welcome to join it if they want to. Can of worms, cup of noodles. Lol. Yeah. You know what? Fuck it. I'll take my first bite. Right? There's no use in prolonging this. I'm going to have to eat these noodles at some point. By the way, I'm sweating just smelling these noodles. I want to be clear about that. This is going to fucking suck for me. God damn it. I'm still stalling myself. Oh, God. Good taste. Ah, shit. Yeah, this is going to blow. Okay. So, I'm here today to discuss how King Crimson actually functions in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Because there are several ways that they show it working, and none of them make sense together, unless you take into account a different stand, which we're going to also talk about. Holy shit, this is spicy. Oh, it's going to be good when the Porcelain Kingdom hails. God damn it, CB. Alright. So, I need to discuss one thing beforehand with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. But before we get into the whole King Crimson bit. Actually, two things. We want to talk about two different stands, and then we're getting into King Crimson and how King Crimson is affected by the stands. First things first. We're going to talk about Thoth, or Toth, or however you want to pronounce it. Which is a stand in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is just a little comic book that Oingo and Boingo read together. And it tells them the immediate future. Now, what it tells you is actually your fate. What you are fated to do in the immediate future and what the outcome will be. Powerful ass stand. I'll take another bite here. Used by two idiots. Making it almost completely useless in their hands. Yeah. I know you can hear the nomming. Anyway. I also made myself a cup of tea. This is probably going to make it worse, but it's okay. Yeah, I can feel the heat all right. I can feel it really well. Ish. Anyway, so the reason this is important is it means that fate actually exists in the JoJo universe. You are fated to do an action. That action is fated to have an outcome, and that outcome is fated to come true. Shown by Whole Horse, when he tries to go against fate, he ends up shooting himself in the head. It's an entirely random thing, but he tried to defy Oingo's book, and he ended up just blasting himself in the head on accident. It's the whole thing. Fucking hate it. What ends up happening, though, is that Oingo ends up going off and starting to write comic books. Point is, it's proof that fate exists in JoJo. Now, the reason I bring this up is because certain things are fated to happen with King Crimson. King Crimson is meant to be found out. King Crimson's meant to be the antagonist. King Crimson is the root of evil in JoJo Part 5. So, it's relevant because that means the JoJo is fated to defeat whoever this villain is, Diavolo, if you guys... Anyway. Now, the thing that makes King Crimson so confusing... I'll take another small bite here. Is that he can skip time. He can skip about 10 seconds into the future. But he can still act during that time while everyone else has to take their fated action. Abakio does it when he steps off the boat to stop Giorno from going deeper into the castle. Giorno does it many times, and every time King Crimson is activated. Anyway. So, why do I bring this up? Well, there is another stand that is very important to this story, called Rolling Stone. Now, it shows up in the final episode of JoJo Part 5, where a woman is killed by the user of Rolling Stone. She falls to her death, but her organs remain intact. So her organs are given to her father to make her father survive. Now, this was a fated action, sort of. But the fate was changed due to Rolling Stone's power. Rolling Stone's power is... it gains the shape of someone in the world whose fate has been predetermined. And if they touch Rolling Stone, they would be compelled to kill themselves, which is insanely dark. But it will end up that their fate, whatever they were fated to do, will end up happening instantaneously. So the woman giving her organ to her father so her father could survive. She doesn't have to die on the operating table. Anyway. Is there that is a stand-up comedian? I would need to think about it. there's a stand owned by a man named Funny Valentine. Does that count? Anyway, not the point. Point is that Rolling Stone being this really, like, let's not even talk about the fact that Rolling Stone is its stand user is basically the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. His name is Scalipi. And it gets more complicated because when someone else touches Rolling Stone, they end up being destined to kill the person that Rolling Stone is carved at. Oh, I forgot to turn on tits. Hold on. Sorry about that. I also forgot to turn on... God damn it. Integrate. Give me 2 seconds, and I will fix that. Come on, boot up. Thank you. There we go. And be cool. Of course you get a hug, MX Robin. So, here, I'll give you that for free because... Let's see, where is it? That's right. Cookie attack. There we go. Thank you, Soul. God. Anyway. So, when it comes to what ends up happening with Rolling Stone and Scalipi, Rolling Stone ends up looking like Bruno. Mista touches Rolling Stone. Mista is now fated to kill Bruno. Mista jumps out the window with Rolling Stone, but because he is not fated to die, he survives and ends up breaking the orb, causing it to take the shape of 3 characters. Narancia, Abacchio, and Mista. Or, sorry, not Mista. Bruno. Alright. So what does this mean? Well, it means the fate of those 2 characters changed. Because if Bruno was to jump out the window and kill himself, then the user of King Crimson, Diavolo, would end up dying to Metallica's user, Risotto. But the reason he doesn't is because of...
Boss,
Mista
I heard about this new Jedi called Mace Winnow. Isn't that cool?
Boss, I heard about the new Jedi called Mace Winnow. Isn't that cool? Wait, what? Wait, did Blink not come up for some reason? Oh, god damn it. Oh. For some reason, I didn't hear Blink come up. That might be a... And y'all could hear her, right? Y'all could hear her? Anyway. Alright. No idea why I can't, but... I got my eye on chat, so... Whew, that is spicy. It's good, but it's spicy. Anyway. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So... Let me break it down for you. Now, King Crimson's ability is skip 15 seconds, define his own fate. to move out of the way of attacks and kill his opponents. That's his entire strategy, more or less. So, what ends up happening in the story with King Crimson? Well, the reason why this is such a hotly debated topic, at least when it comes to... Nah, I'm not going to start breakdancing. When it comes to JoJo, is because there are several scenes in the show where King Crimson is shown to use his ability and shit that doesn't make sense happens. For instance, Bruno staring at a wall while Trish gets kidnapped by King Crimson. Well, so Bruno's fate was to always look dead ahead while he goes up the elevator. And then the door opens, Trish gets kidnapped, or whatever. But because of King Crimson skips the 10 seconds where the doors open and just straight up rips Trish out of fucking Bruno's hand and slides down the elevator shaft. Bruno then proceeds to throw his medallion down, and they track... they're able to track King Crimson. Which, isn't... like, people have an issue with Bruno just, like, looking at the wall. He can't react to Trish being kidnapped because he's not fated to react to Trish being kidnapped. He doesn't know Trish is being kidnapped because he doesn't know that King Crimson is after. Anyway. I know it's kind of complicated, but if you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. So then we see it again with the whole Bruno versus Diavolo thing, and I would say if Rolling Stone did not get involved, this is where Bruno dies. But because Mista touched Rolling Stone, Mista is the one who has to kill Bruno. So we'll get to that in a bit. Next up, there's a scene where Bruno cleans up his room in the matter of 10 seconds. Well, he was fated to clean up his room. So all he did was skip the action, and it basically all levitated out a window. Not joking. I like that explanation. It makes sense. It is stupid. And it is funny, but it's exactly what JoJo would do. It's not... There are just certain scenes where it's like, this doesn't make sense, but it makes sense for JoJo, and a dude hovering all of his items out a window is pretty on point. Alright, time for a big bite, so I suffer more. Ugh. Oh yeah, that sucks. Oh, that sucks to eat. Anyway. But it tastes pretty good. Anyway, so then we get to the scene that everyone and them other bitches about, where King Crimson comes out, kills a dude, blood splatters in the alleyway, then King Crimson fucking uses his powers. It's all clean. No. That was an animation error, and everyone fucking knows it. Listen, I'm not big on animation errors or saying things happen just because they happen, but yeah. Timelines and bullshit. It's a JoJo animated adaptation error. Let's call it that. Anyway. Oh, God. So this is where I need to get in depth with this shit. Because now, we get to the most confusing scene in all of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, hands down, which is the battle in the Colosseum. There's a disabled man up the stairs. The boss, Diavolo, owner of King Crimson, is trying to kill him. His daughter is closing in, and everyone switches bodies. It's fascinating. Doppio, who is Diavolo's other half, his split personality, ends up in Bruno's body. Bruno ends up in the boss's body. Yeah. It's a Freaky Friday situation. So, King Crimson ends up... Or, sorry. Not King Crimson. Doppio ends up in Bruno's body, which is important. Mista ends up in Trish's body. Trish ends up in Mista's body. Giorno ends up in Narancia's body. And Narancia ends up in Giorno's body. Which leaves Diavolo somewhere. And Diavolo ends up in Mista's body with Trish, but Trish does not know that. It's a whole thing. Yeah. God. I'm suffering here, guys. The tea helps a little. Anyway. So, the first thing that happens is Mista shoots... Sorry. Mista in Trish's body shoots Doppio in Bruno's body. So, Bruno's body is effectively dead and can't be healed. Or they don't think about healing it. Which means that whoever's in Bruno's body ends up dying. Which makes the Mista part come true. Where Mista touched Rolling Stone, Rolling Stone declared he would kill Bruno. He kills Bruno. Kind of. We'll get to that. So then... God. Then we get to the confusing part, where King Crimson himself kills Narancia. And it is the weirdest looking thing in the entire show. And it makes no fucking sense. If you take it at base value. Because 10 seconds pass, not 15. And he is impaled a story up on a fucking gate. Alright? He is like as if the gate came down on top of him. Somehow he's hanging from the gate because he was squashed by it, or he was impaled in it. It doesn't look like it should be possible. And the reason why this is because Narancia is one of the ones fated to die by Mista tampering with Rolling Stone. Abakio had died earlier by getting punched through the chest after Diavolo survived fighting Risotto. And Risotto's bullets passed through the boss due to the fact that he wasn't fated to die yet and was fated to be killed by Giorno. Which is why fate matters. Then, as as fate takes its course, King Crimson and the crew, and King Crimson ends up losing. His body is switched back to his original body, which sends Bruno back into his own body, which Mista shot, and Mista ends up killing. It ends up killing fucking Bruno, which was all fated to happen due to Rolling Stone. Man, it really doesn't like it when I take a drink of water. Anyway. So, this makes all this come true. So, the explanation for King Crimson's ability is that he cannot actually touch anyone. The reason he's able to kill people in time skip is because they were already fated to die. He does it to Abakio, he does it to Narancia, and he doesn't end up killing anyone else, surprisingly. Narancia is the one who killed Risotto. Technically. Oh, God. And now I need to blow my nose because holy shit, these are hot. Alright. So, to explain it briefly, everyone gets King Crimson's ability wrong. Thank you so much, Leia. Everyone gets King Crimson's ability wrong. Alright? At least, I think so. Because they all assume that King Crimson's ability has been written to be a time stop, but it isn't. The only time characters die and it doesn't make sense is due to the fact that it is Rolling Stone doing the killing and making them fated to die. Don't get me wrong. I understand that it's confusing and most people don't believe this. But fate exists, and fate is the driving force in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, even as the writer states. Yeah. I don't know how better to explain it, but King Crimson is quite possibly my most hated stand because everyone gets it wrong. So, the reason I hate King Crimson is because although his shit works, it doesn't work the way you want it to work due to the fact that it is being interfered with by another stand. Its ability doesn't make sense and does not remain consistent due to the effect of another stand. Now, do I think fate exists in real life? I think there are certain things you cannot defy in this world. Whether, like... I'll put it this way. Life is a lot more linear than we think it is, but it isn't based on fate. It's like our fate is based on decisions that were made before our time, or decisions that we have yet to make. So yes, I believe in a type of fate, but I believe it is more of a endless branching path that leads to a certain conclusion. Because no matter what, you're ending at the same end point. The difference is, what ending are you going for, right? Like, either way, we're all destined to die. I don't like thinking of it like that, but it's true. In the end, at the end of everything, we all just lay down and die. But the question is, how many people will remember us? How many people will be there to mourn us? How many people are going to be talking about us throughout the ages? That all still exists. Anyway. So, back to King Crimson. One of my most infuriating moments with King Crimson is the fight with Risotto Nero. Because Risotto basically grabs onto the boss for dear life and then has fucking Narancia fire at him. And then the bullets pass right through Diavolo and go straight into Risotto. And it's one of the most ridiculous things ever. Because for no reason should that ever happen. Risotto isn't that weak. Risotto isn't an idiot. And yeah, Risotto was about to die anyway, but there's no way the boss could have dodged that, or, you know. But because fate needed him to live to die to Giorno and Bruno's decision, that is the only reason King Crimson is left alive. But fucking Narancia should have known that King Crimson was ready to was up there, since the time stop, he should have felt on top of it, everything. But he didn't, which tells me that this was done by Rolling Stone and not by King Crimson. So how many cups of noodles are you gonna eat? Oh no, I have two. I have two, and they're big. They're these big bowls that are over here on the side. And God, are they fucking spicy. I'm waiting for my mouth to cool down before I take another bite. Because Jesus, holy crap. Listen, I don't do spicy streams, usually. But I'm happy to do this because we raised 3K in our first stream collab. We're also doing another crazy-ass collab next year. With a bunch of famous people. And, like, I'm going to try and shake the internet. Either way. Point being. Back on topic. So, the argument that is always heard is, what if King Crimson had a spear? Or a gun? Well, the thing about that is, he wouldn't be able to interact with it. As in pull the trigger, because the time that the trigger was pulled would have been skipped. And same goes for the blood splashing in the eyes, and so no, the character just can't do this shit. God, these noodles. Fuck. This is actually a lot more painful than I expected. Anyway. So, like, everything in JoJo Part 5 would have happened the way it happened if if Bruno ended up killing himself with a Rolling Stone. That's why I call King Crimson just the world diet. You're not wrong. It is a worse version of the world, but it's also being operated by a glass cannon who knows when he's going to be fucked over. Now, I think, I'm not going to say this for certain, but I think Epitaph, who is King Crimson's second ability, might be the most useless stand due to the fact that all it does is let King Crimson see a fated outcome, but not see how the fated outcome gets there. This works in tandem with King Crimson. I will say it's user error. And, well, kind of. No matter what, the user of King Crimson was destined to die. Either by Risotto Nero or by Giorno Giovanna. The only reason he doesn't is because he doesn't die to Risotto is because of Rolling Stone. And without Rolling Stone, everything would have gone the same way, except Bruno dies in the castle and doesn't die fighting Chocolata and shit. Also, Narancia survives, and so does Abakio. Both them survive due to Bruno not being there, them not needing to go to... Well, they may have needed to go, but the word wouldn't have gotten out that they were going to the island, and there's a lot. But yes, all the characters would have survived except for Bruno. But Bruno lost his chance when Rolling Stone was destroyed by Mista. And it's a whole nutshell whether what Mista did was right or wrong, but theoretically, it could have been an action he was fated to take, thus making it unavoidable, at least in the world of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. There are plenty of new characters who defy fate, let's say Wonder of You, but I don't know. Like, in the original timeline, the most powerful stand has to be Rolling Stone, due to the fact that it is the only one that can change the fate of a character. It changed the fate of Bruno, it changed the fate of Narancia, and it changed the fate of Abakio. All because Mista misunderstood, and it changed the fate of Mista, and Mista was the one who had to kill Bruno on accident. So, no matter what, people are going to say King Crimson doesn't make sense, but the explanation for everything that doesn't make sense of King Crimson is Rolling Stone. It's either King Crimson or Rolling Stone. There's no in between. The reason... I would love to watch the show with you, but I don't want to get copyright claimed. Because basically, there is a scene where, like, King Crimson is just, like, is just sitting above fucking Risotto. And it just bullets go through him, and it's like, there's no way he could react to bullets in time. There's no way he saw that coming, because he even acts surprised during it. And he should have died there because he was literally being held down by a dude. But now, no matter what, it's fate. He was fated to survive, and I know that sounds like a cop-out, but the fact that fate actually exists in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and we are shown things that can change fate, including King Crimson, which makes his fate ironic, where he ends up dying infinite amount of times, you know, it's a whole fucking thing. Alright, time to take another big bite. Oh. But yeah. Because we talked about Toth earlier. Or Thoth? You know, the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure equivalent to a Idiot's Guide to whatever series of books, right? So, that guide, or, you know, the fact that that shows that fated actions can happen, and it doesn't tell you. So, it doesn't tell you to do an action, it tells you the outcome of what action you are about to take. Like Whole Horse kicking the woman in the back of the head, and then she gives him $1 million because he crushed a scorpion. Which is insanity, but it happens. And, God, fuck. This bitch is on fire. Anyway. So, the fact that there's a demonstrable proof of fate existing in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and it is the basis of 2 different stands, tells me that the change of fate and the attempts to deny fate always backlash into something bad. Narancia dying. Abakio dying. Whole Horse getting shot. Whenever you defy fate, you get killed or something bad happens, including King Crimson ends up dying of infinite death cycle. He's basically stuck in a loop of death. Which I think is the worst fate in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And let me put it this way. I don't disagree that there are probably some questions out there like the spear question, but no. King Crimson can't just throw a spear at you in time skip. Because he's not fated to do so. His fate is his fighting style. His cockiness, his overconfidence in and of himself is the downside. Amazon is part 5, so you could do a watch party Twitch stream, but only those with Primes could watch along. Interesting. Could be fun. Anyway. Fate is a very funky thing. Fate decide. It is shown in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6 that fate actually is a real thing. Because at the end, when all the surviving people get sent back in time, there's a scene of cops knowing what's going to happen, but unable to explain why they know what's going to happen. So this isn't the first, timeline, per se, at least not to our knowledge. And the fact that it got reset, fate got reset, but fate is still destined to happen, shows that no matter what, your outcome is predetermined. How it happens just ends up happening differently. It's pure insanity. At least that's my takeaway from it. The question is, how many past JoJos have there been? And how many future JoJos will there be? Fuck it. We know Johnny Joestar exists. We know Josuke comes back. We know Jodio is a character. But what if there was another timeline before our first timeline? What if Dio was able to attain heaven? What if Jotaro was the villain? What if Dio was actually the good guy? Who knows? It's all determined by who has the star birthmark on their back. Because fate is a crazy ass thing. King Crimson is only the start of it. And it opens up the possibility of infinite JoJos. Like, what happens if Shizuka Joestar ends up being a JoJo in the future? Octon baby. Anyway. I don't actually... I don't know. I may have only been going for an hour, but I've covered most of the stuff. There are a few, weird here and there's about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And it's why I would actually suggest, if you want to rewatch Part 5 of JoJo, go watch the final episode first, and then watch Part 5. I feel like it would clear up all the confusion with King Crimson. All of it. There wouldn't be any more confusion with King Crimson. Because it shows you exactly what is fated to happen with the characters. But only if you haven't seen it before. If you have seen it before. If you haven't seen it before, please just go watch Part 5. Part 5 is well worth the watch, and it's a lot of fun. There's so many different, things I could go over with fate. How Jotaro was fated to survive, and then, all the way to the point that he does, and then the fate of all the characters in JoJo's Part 6, where the new timeline says they all live peacefully, happily ever after. We'll be doing this probably later next year, I think. I'm on my second viewing with my mom near Battle in Egypt now. Oh, that's fucking sick. Oh, yeah. Tell me when you get to Darby. Both of them. I love Darby. The truth is that I could go into depth about any JoJo's Bizarre Adventure character, and I could, like, non-stop talk about them. I made an entire board game back in the day based on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and it was so much fun. Unfortunately, I would need to get that table set up again, but yeah. The next, so there are plenty of crazy things that happen in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, from, you know, vampires to fucking time-traveling priests. And I'm pretty sure that that fate brings them all together and determines what happens next in JoJo. Because stand users are fated to be drawn to each other. So that tells you one thing for sure. These noodles are really fucking good. Anyway. But, so, it seems crazy, but King Crimson is by far the most confusing stand in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Only because another stand is fucking with its power the entire time. Every time we see it, it's being fucked with by another power. So, my question is, what would be the optimal way to actually use King Crimson? Well, if you make a bad decision, no. I actually don't know the best way to use King Crimson. It doesn't seem like there's a good way to use it. It actually might be one of the weakest stands in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure because it is still bound to fate despite you defying it by definition with the stand. Yeah, I have no idea. Well, I could go over how there's probably a previous universe to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Because, like, Poochie attains heaven, right? And that's like the whole thing with part 6. King Crimson can change your fate, but not everyone else's, including their fate to kill you. Exactly. That's the problem with King Crimson. If you're an asshole with it, someone's going to try to kill you. And you will suffer consequences eventually. It's a weak-ass stand. It's a lot of fun, but it's a weak-ass stand. Compared to, you know, name a stand. A person that can only change their own fate, but not change the fate of others who are fated to interact with you is maybe one of the weakest stands. Because it effectively does nothing. Until you're fated to lose. Survivor actually seems really powerful in comparison. Right? It's just a battle to the death between anyone in the general vicinity. Survivor is a ridiculous ass stand, and you know what? I'm going to post a JoJo hot take on fucking Twitter. Hold on. JoJo. I am going to post this and see what people think. Jojo, or sorry, let's see. Going for Twitter. Let's see. Survivor. And then greater than sign. Greater than King Crimson. Survivor is greater than King Crimson. No one can change my mind about that. Listen, in brute force, King Crimson may win, but the fact that its ability is effectively useless, especially against Survivor, I think a surprise attack from Survivor will kill King Crimson pretty easily. He would not be the last one standing. I don't know. You know what I really want to see? I want to see fucking Dio's world tour where he found all of his like henchmen. That'd be fucking awesome. Then we could see where he got the Survivor disc. These noodles really are good. Speaking of user error, stand the sun. Oh, the dude sitting behind a mirror? Yeah. Yeah, one of the most powerful stands in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the motherfucking sun. And the dude loses because he's sitting behind a mirror. Like, I will say, a lot of the JoJo villains lose because of user error. Darby loses because he gets outsmarted. I'll give him that. Both of them. Both the Darbys are outsmarted. The fucking bird decides to dive underwater like an idiot. Bitch, just freeze the water. Anyway. I have finished my bowl of noodles. Holy shit, are they hot. We'll let this wear off and then I'm probably going right into someone. Because this is just a quick stream. God, this shit's spicy. Holy hell. Feel like I'm gonna be shitting fire tonight. You know what? I agree with you, Leia. Kira is by far the smartest villain in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. That dude kills people and moves on. No malicious intent until he starts getting pressured. Then he's an animal caught in a cage. When he gets cornered, he gets dangerous. Now, does that mean he's the strongest? No, Poochie's the strongest. Like, by far. Maiden Heaven is the most ridiculous ass stand ever. And he ends up dying to weather report. The strongest stand user in JoJo Part 6. Woo! I hope you guys like hearing me suffer. Oh, God. But yeah, as the burn dies down, I'm still going to keep talking because that's what you guys are here for, right? Hear me suffer with noodles? Oh, God. I let it die down every time, and then I continued eating. Holy shit. Yeah. But King Crimson is quite possibly is the weakest stand in all of JoJo, and it goes up against the strongest stand in all of JoJo, which is Chariot Requiem. Or, sorry, Chariot Requiem, and then it goes against fucking Golden Experience Requiem. Motherfucker stood no chance. At all. And so I just thought I would give my hot takes on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm going to ask Pat to actually edit this one. He's my editor. He's a sweetheart. Put it up on YouTube as the true explanation behind King Crimson. Because it both makes sense and doesn't make sense. It's absolutely insanity. So the spear question is no, he cannot use a spear because he's not fated to use a spear. If he was fated to use a spear, he would have a spear. That's why he doesn't carry any weapons on him either. Because he can't use them in Time Stop because you can't skip a fated action that isn't fated yet. All he can do is move. Alright. I think my mouth is actually cooling down. Alrighty. So, I will say this. King Crimson is the most confusing and most infuriating stand in all of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure because we never get to see it at its full potential. Because it's always being fated in a certain direction by Rolling Stone. Now, the question is, what would happen if he knew his own fate? Because he should have known his own fate, theoretically, but then his fate became infinite, and the infinite fate became a never-ending torture hub for him. King Crimson is a mess. But, surprisingly, a really fun stand, really cool enemy, but just, honestly, probably one of the weakest enemies we get to see. I know this was a very short stream, but like I said, Christmas is around the corner. And I will be back tomorrow with River City Girls with my friend Amber. Alright. Now that I'm out of noodles, I'm going to have to call it here and actually go into someone. Oh. And yeah, we're going into my friend Jade, who is a sweetheart. Jade is a sweetheart. This may have only taken an hour, but I'm not suffering through more noodles. I'm sorry. I can only do one bowl. Also because I accidentally ate breakfast this morning, which is kind of funny, but anyway, thank you all for coming. I know it was a short stream, but I want you all to know that you're all appreciated, and next year is something to be hype about. It's going to put this stream on the fucking map, and I hope you all have a wonderful night. See ya.